Hey everyone, so today we're going to make a quick video on beef jerky. So we're going to be making a marinade, slicing it up and putting it into the smoker and dehydrating it for a while. So let's get to starting that straight away. So the meat we have of choice today is just some topside. So I've gone and prepared the topside by slicing it into some more manageable pieces, and I've put them into the freezer to firm up so we can send it through the meat slicer over here. So let's start off by chucking it through the meat slicer. So today I'm cutting it up in with the grain. That way you'll get a more tear apart rather than a easy pull apart. So there we go, that's the rough thickness that I prefer to go for. If I remember, I'll try and link on there the rough thickness at the end. So we're just going to keep going through that, and we'll just slice up the rest of our meat just like that. So there we go. There's the 2 plates, roughly about 2 kilos worth of meat sliced up. So now we're going to start working on the marinades. Alright, for the simple marinade, all we're going for is 250 ml of soy sauce. Let me crack the lid open. 250 ml of soy sauce. $250 ml of Worcestershire sauce. We have got 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of pepper, 1 tablespoon of paprika, specifically I'm using smoked, 1 tablespoon of garlic, and if you want to have that little bit of extra heat, I'm adding some ground chili, but feel free to omit that if you don't like spice. And last of all, roughly about a tablespoon of honey. And then, simply done, just mix her up. Now, preferably you would have mixed this up into a larger container, big enough to hold your meat, but I didn't, and I didn't want to mix it through the marinator. So, pour my mixture into my marinating container. And then I'm going to go 1 piece at a time into the marinade. That way everything's getting even coverage across the board. So easily just grab 1 piece at a time, making sure it stays all separate like that piece. Otherwise the marinade will not get to every piece. So I'm going to do this off camera, and then I will let this sit overnight, and we will come back tomorrow when we are ready to put it into the smoker. All right, talk to you guys then. All right, so it's the next day. It's been sitting in the fridge, covered and marinating for probably close to 12 or so hours now. So we're going to pull these out and we're going to put them into the smoker. So today I'm going to run probably about an hour or so of smoke, and then after that we're going to go to dehydration mode. So let's go and switch that over. So today we're using the Trimal S1. We're using dehydration mode on here. So let's first of all turn her on. Then we're going to go to menu to start up, and we're going to go down to Pro modes. Push the button in, and we're going to go down all the way to the bottom to dehydrator mode. So we're going to select the start cooking, and we're going to set the fan speed to maximum because we are doing jerky. And I'm also going to drop it back down to probably around that 62 area, which is roughly around that 165 Fahrenheit. So we'll let that preheat while we start loading the racks up. So as you can see here, we've got the marinated beef here. And just spread it out. So we've got the marinated beef here. It's been sitting over there for almost 12 hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get the majority of the liquid, loose liquid off. And in this smoker in particular, I'm going to go for more of a hanging method rather than placing over. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of space. So what I'm going to do is I am going to hang it over just like that. So I'll do a couple pieces and then I'll move you over and have a look. Simply just like that. So I'm going to fill the smoker up. So we've got the marinade we made yesterday. We've also got another marinade that I'm going to test out and try. If it works out, I'll post the recipe in the description. As you can see, we've got all the meat hung over, ready to start drying. It does look like there is more of the other flavour because towards the end, the meat slicer was getting a little bit inconsistent with the thicknesses. So I'll be looking into a new meat slicer at some point. But regardless of the fact, thickness also comes down to your personal preference too. So let's get we've got this new smoke tube here that we're going to put in with the smoker to try and give it a little bit of a cold smoke. So we'll see how that all goes. Let's get this thing set it up and get it going. Easily enough, we're just going to use some of the pellets that we use for the smoker. You could also use wood chips, flavour, up to your preference. So today we're just going to use what we got with the smoker, which is the southern hardwood. So all we're going to do is just load the pellets into the tube. And I'm going to go to about maybe 1/3 of the tube. I don't want it to run for 5 or 6 hours. The jerky will only take on flavour for the first few hours. So I'm just going to use about a third of the tube. And we'll go from there. So simply, just to use the smoke tube, you need some method of starting your fire. So be careful, as this is live fire. We're just going to blast the smoke, blast the pellets until we see a bit of flame. And then we take it away. And you should have smoke coming from your tube now. She's still a little bit warm. She's a little bit warm, but you can see we're getting some smoke coming through. Oop, back here. We've got some smoke coming through. So now we're just going to place that into the smoker. For this, I'm going to slide this tray out just a smidgen and slide it in back here. So we'll cut back in a few hours and we'll check up on the jerky then. So just a quick update. We're about 4.5 hours into the cook, not including warm-up times. So let's have a look at the progress. Well, she's certainly looking very jerky. The true test is how it's all feeling. All right, let's grab a piece and see how it's all doing. Maybe this one out. So she's one of the thinner pieces here. I'll give her a tear apart. See how it's a bit stringy there. It's not too soft. I think those thinner pieces are just about done. They look just about done to me, so. However, these thicker little chunks, let's have a look. Yeah, see, they're still a bit too soft. So I'll have to give them a few more hours. Probably 2 or 3 more hours on the thicker pieces. And yeah, we'll give it with an update and go from there. All right, we're back again. I think we're coming towards the end of the cook. I have taken out 2 bags already. They were starting to look like they were drying out a little bit too much. So here's all that's left. I think we're going to unload pretty much all that's left, besides maybe 1 or 2 pieces that were quite thick. But I'm going to call that at the end of the, once we pull all this out, I'm going to call that. So let's quickly pull out all the rest. And chuck it in the bag. So I think we did pretty well. We got a good amount of jerky. If I remember, I'll weigh it and I'll put it in the description. But let's grab out a piece and give it a go. Grab out a piece. Got a nice tear. Just tear off a strip. Give it a go. It's pretty good. Got a good amount of chew to it. Not too dry. So, realistically, in the end of the day, you take it as far as you want to go. If you want it to be a little less chewy, let it cook for less time. If you want it to be really chewy, take it more. If you take it too much more though, you might end up with it being crispy, and that's too far gone. But the other main thing is the way that you cut it, whether you go with the grain or against the grain. With the grain, you're going to end up with a more chewy and tearing kind of jerky. If you go against the grain, you're going to end up with a more tender bite as well. So if this video has helped you guys out, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.